Imagine you could step inside the minds of Canada's healthcare leaders, glimpse their greatest fears, strongest drivers, and what makes them tick. Welcome to Healthcare Changemakers, a podcast where we talk to leaders about the joys and challenges of driving change and working with partners to create the safest healthcare system.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Healthcare Changemakers. My name is Michelle and I'm with Hirok, and I'm here with my colleague Abby. We are so excited because last episode was our 70th and we are on today to our 71st episode. So I feel like we're going to get to 100 soon, Abby. I don't know about you.
I think so too. And today's episode is a special one. We have Gail Hunt from Royal Victoria Regional Health Centre in Barrie.
Yes, we do. And Gail was here to chat with us a little bit about how she keeps staff connected to their strategic plan, how she leads as a self-described introvert, and even Jiu Jitsu. I was thinking, Abby, we often talk about the interviews like we're having a cup of coffee. We say that to our guests before we start recording. But with Gail, it honestly felt like we were sitting down and having one. I don't know how you felt.
Oh, I agree. I forgot we were in the podcast for a moment. Our conversations were amazing, and I'm sure you will think so too.
Yeah. And so without further ado, we will let you have a listen. And as always, let us know what you think. If you have any feedback, please rate and review our episode. Hi, Gail. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So you've been at RVH for just over 2 years now. We were hoping to hear about the feeling those first few days and how you feel now when you walk through the halls of the hospital.
Yes, it's a lot different from the first few days. The first few days, when I first arrived, the team had a 14-page listening tour document ready for me over the
That's big.
Really big, over the next 4 to 5 months. Going out through all the different departments in the organization. Some are off-site, some are on-site, some were virtual. That was just sort of at the tail end of hospitals having still no visitors and things like that. So it was a little overwhelming, thinking like, oh my God, I have to meet everybody here in this period of time and still, acquaint myself with everything that was happening in the role. So it was a little overwhelming. These days, it's a really new team at the senior leadership team is new for the most part in the last 2 years because there was also several retirements just before I started. So building up the team and, feeling more well acquainted with the organization now in the departments and knowing a lot more names than I knew those first few days. It feels like home now, and it's much more comfortable than it was the first couple of days.
That must feel good to kind of have that sense of being at home when you walk around. But I was just wondering, sort of at RVH, how would the team describe you if we were to ask them?
I think they'd say I'm approachable. I think they say I'm very decisive. That's one of my superpowers probably, and that I'm good at making complicated, breaking down complicated things into simple steps from a strategic perspective of where we need to move forward. So I think they'd probably say I'm, have a really good sense of humor too. It's a stressful job. So, one of the things you have to have in a team is the ability to laugh and just sort of laugh at yourselves to be able to deal with some of the stress you're under sometimes.
That's definitely important to have. I think we all need it in any role, especially in such a role as yours. But on the other end of it, how would your family or your close friends describe you?
Well, my adult children like to remind me every so often that I'm not the CEO of the house. So I hear that from time to time when I'm bossing everybody around. But I think they would also say that I am very introverted and I like my quiet time. It's if the kids see me that I'm out on a weekend evening or something, it's a surprise to them as always. If I've left the house on the weekend, it's usually for a work event. So I'll try to stay home as much as I can otherwise, but I think that's how they would describe me.
So I was just wondering, kind of backing up a little bit, if you can tell us a little bit about the hospital, about RVH and the organization in general.
Yeah, so we are a regional hospital in the Simcoe County, Muskoka region, and we had our last expansion, I think, in 2012. I think when they moved into the site here in Barrie, it was already too small. And so the team, since just before I started, was really working on how do we meet the needs of this really growing population? So one of the things that we've been working on is our expansion on the site that we're on in Barrie, and also on a site in Innisfil, because that southern end of the Barrie area and south of Innisfil has grown so rapidly. So it's an interesting time at RVH because it grew from a smaller hospital and it's now so large, and it's a transition in culture as well to be servicing such a large population and have more and more regional programs that are servicing such a wide area, and the pressure of that capacity with the population. So it's interesting to see, as you need to transition to a different way of doing things sometimes, because you're not as small as you used to be, and you really need to change the way you do certain things when you're dealing with larger volumes and things like that. So it's a really exciting time. You can see some are really excited on the research side to try new things and do new things. And we have a lot of innovation in different departments about how they're sort of dealing with the demands on healthcare as they exist right now. And it can be really draining on individuals. But I see here at RVH that we have so many people who are just excited to be able to try new things. And from a leadership perspective, it's really our job to how can we move barriers out of your way to be able to do these things that are really going to help patients at the end of the day and make this a better work environment for everybody here.
Yeah, I love that, and definitely a very big growing community. And I wanted to make sure we capture that because I know that some of our listeners are not necessarily in the local area. So just to kind of get a sense of what the hospital is as a whole, I just wanted to kind of chat a little bit because I know you launched a new strategic plan, a new 10-year strategic plan, which is kind of a big undertaking. It's just rolling out this year. I wanted to ask how your leadership team kind of keeps that momentum going to ensure that the staff and also the community kind of feel connected to that plan now and then over the next 10 years.
Yes, for sure. It is a big a big role, a big job with the 10-year strategic plan. I think this it really starts with the engagement we did beforehand. We did a lot of engagement, and I would say that post COVID, I jokingly referred to it as strategic plan fatigue, because everybody sort of postponed during COVID renewing strategic plans. So there was a real rush for a lot of organizations. And I'll just speak from a healthcare perspective because we do a lot of consult with partners. But we were all getting invitations to provide information for consultations on our partners' strategic plans, and they were getting ours. So it was a lot of work to sort of make it engaging enough or simple enough that people didn't feel like I don't want to answer another 20-page survey or anything like this. So really getting to what sparked people's interest and what got them excited about what does healthcare look like, what does hospital and healthcare look like for you in the future. So it started with that, and really getting the teams involved. And post COVID, they were really run down and burnt out. Adam Grant would call it the languishing that existed, really in the population. So trying to get them excited about the future and what did they see. And we held special events inside the organization. Imagine Fest was one of the things that we held for staff to be able to give us their feedback about, what do they want to see and where do they see RVH 10 years from now. So we got really great buy-in from the team here. So that was great. And, we also know about with the population growth and this area of the province, like what do we need to be able to meet the needs of the future and meet the patient expectations, and have the team members here to be able to fill all the roles we'll need as the population doubles over the next 20 years. So we knew what are the big moves we need to do, and an academic health science center is one of those big moves. We do a lot of learning from all levels, medical learners and nursing and allied health and pharmacy. We do learning all across. So, we need to really focus that and strategize and develop a relationship with the medical school that really helps us get to that end goal over the 10 years. Because we know it's a journey, it's a change in how we do things, and we need to slowly build our way up there. And the relationship with medical schools really helps you ensure that you have that feeder system coming in that's going to help you make sure that you have the specialists and the physicians that you need as you grow. So having that is really a big deal, and really increasing on the research side. RVH does so much research right now. We have an amazing team here, and we run the largest clinical trials for community-sized hospitals. So, that solidifying that academic health science center will allow us to even grow that bigger and more robust. And we're excited about those things. So, really, for us, it's we mapped out what some of our big moves are, and everything we do now we tie back to where is it taking us? Where is that big move? So that, the team here can feel connected. A lot of times, a strategic plan can be so vague that it's hard as a frontline worker who's, with the patients or cleaning the facilities or taking care of somewhere in the organization to really identify with the strategic plan, which means it ends up as sort of this dusty document that you don't really deal with. So, one of the things that we're really trying to do is tie every goal we take on an annual basis back to this is part of the journey along to this big move that we all imagined previously that we get to, and now we've sort of put our stake in the ground that this is where we're headed and this is where we're going. So we've really tried to relate that back to the team and embed our values as action oriented. Be kind, team up, be bold, the things that we need people to be able to step up and do to be able to realize the things we want to get done.
Are those values new to the same timing as a strategic plan, or were they always around?
They're all brand new. We did the previous strategic plan was 10 years old, and we felt like the environment had really changed post COVID, and we felt we needed to really embed our values in actions that people could relate to and to do. We have do great things and inspire trust, be kind, the things that we felt we could imagine ourselves doing, and that's how we make our choices and day to day. On a day-to-day basis, the team faces different challenges, and what was something they could root themselves in to be able to know if they were making the right decision when they're dealing with patient care or families questions and things like that. If they had unusual things always pop up in healthcare, and we can't have somebody at this, a manager at somebody's side throughout the day. So we want to empower the teams with action-oriented values that helps guide them to make the right decisions for themselves and for our patients and families.
That's great. No, I think that's important that they can feel connected to that and have those values with them.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that you kind of share the strategic plan with other organizations, and you also do provide input on others. But do you have, and you mentioned some really good pieces there, but do you have any advice for other healthcare organizations who might be undertaking a new strategic plan, kind of something that you've learned in the last little bit?
Yeah, I think that it's really finding always getting engagement on your strategic plan is always a little bit difficult because it can seem sort of too high level or it doesn't uh, perhaps speak to somebody like healthcare. If you're not an active immediate user of hospital care at that point in time, it might not you might not feel a sense of urgency or need to participate in a strategic planning process. So, it's finding different ways to engage with different stakeholders and really what speaks to them. So we spent a little bit more time trying to figure out what that looks like, and it's not always the traditional manner in which you would do that engagement, but it really made a difference. Like I would say, even the Imagine Fest that we held internally with the team was, it had a sort of a Willy Wonka style theme, and it was set up in a really our communications team here at RVH did a really great job of translating that to something fun and in sort of bite-sized pieces that could help guide and help guide us, but it was bite sized so that it really wasn't overwhelming and too vague for people to identify with. So I would say, take that time to make that engagement piece fun for the different parties that you're going to be speaking with, and the benefit was really great for that.
So back a little bit to you, a part of your leadership style that you've kind of highlighted before in the past is being approachable and accessible to all the staff, kind of something you've been chatting about already. But what's something that you've implemented at RVH since you joined as CEO that makes this possible?
I think that one of the things I implemented was I'd like to once a year meet with the direct reports of my direct reports. Too often in the 24 years that I've been in healthcare, sometimes you find there's a difference in the messaging that you're sending out and what perhaps hospitals can be very hierarchical, and sometimes your message gets somehow misinterpreted along the way. So really connecting with sort of a couple layers away from you on a regular basis gives you that feedback about, is the culture building in the direction that I aiming for, and what my expectations are. Do people feel they can speak up about things? Do they feel connected to the vision? Is there things that, changes that we've made as a senior leadership team that are actually had unintended consequences, that is, getting in the way of our leaders to really get the things done that we're asking them to? So, and it all, there's always unintended consequences of a few things. So it allows that opportunity for me to get some unfiltered discussions with the team members that I wouldn't normally get. And, I meet with the physician leaders as well. It takes a lot of time to get through all these leaders, but it's really well worth it. You just get such a good pulse on what is happening throughout the organization and what they're experiencing. So it really helps you tweak what you're doing along the way when you find out that what you intended to happen isn't how it rolled out. So you can make corrections, and also allows you to know whether or not um, the message that you are sending out is being received that way you wanted it to. So it's really helpful that way, and that's something I've implemented. And I think it's been a couple years now that I've done it, and it seems to be going really well. And people feel a lot more comfortable with it this year than they did in the first time I did it. They were a little bit nervous about why they were getting called to come speak with me. They thought they had to prepare something or anything else, but it's just a casual discussion.
Yeah, I can see how that might happen.
Yeah, like, why does the CEO want to talk to me? I don't
The
know why.
new
What's going
CEO,
on?
yeah.
But it goes really well, and it's a lot. They know me now a lot better, so they're a lot better casual discussions now.
Yeah, I imagine you find that it kind of eases over time, but those are like in-person conversations that you just have.
Yeah, so it's really great.
Great. I want to pass things over to my colleague Abby. She might have a few questions for you that I haven't asked, but and later we'll move into the lightning round. But Abby, go ahead.
Hi, Gail. It's great to have you on.
Hi, Abby.
This is a bit off script, but you mentioned earlier that you're introverted. I feel like there's a stereotype that you have to be super extroverted to lead and to be successful. So, what advice would you give to professionals on balancing being a successful leader while being more on the introverted side? Because I'm sure our listeners would relate.
I think I spent a lot of the first half of my career trying to fight against my introverted style, and really force myself to do a lot of extroverted things. And it can, like you say, keep that balance. It makes you really unbalanced. Like it's exhausting if it's not your natural state. So I think in the last probably decade or so, I've started to more own my style, which is one of the reasons probably why I'd like to do the one-to-one meetings, because for me that's developing those sort of more um, deeper conversations is something that's more comfortable for me. Other things that I've done as well is I tell the rest of my leadership team, like, this is an issue for me. I won't naturally want to go and put myself out there and things like that, but I'd love to go along as a buddy or something when you're going to visit with another department that I'm not, I don't know everybody in yet, or some departments you get more frequent interaction with. So as an introvert, once you know people well, you're comfortable. So the team is quite supportive of that. And I've also, set things that in different really big social environments. Like, some of my team knows I'm gonna, as we lead up to this date, I'm gonna whine about it and see if I can get out of going to this. But you have to like stay strong and tell me I have to go. So I'll be okay once I'm there, but don't let me like shirk out of it or anything else like that. So the team's really good for those things. I mean, I know what my behaviors are at this point in life. So it's just realizing what they are. And also, even with my own assistant, I have her challenge me when she can see I'm overbooking on things, because out in the future it's easy to say I'm going to feel like doing it then, and as you arrive at that date, you're like, why did I schedule all these things? So it's her giving me feedback, like, I feel this is one of those things, Gail, that you want to say yes to now, but when it happens, you're going to say, like, why did I do this? Because I don't have time to manage all these engagements at one time. So it's really, once you sort of own it and realize your own limitations, because I think whether you're introverted or extroverted, you bring your own strengths and gifts to every role that you're in. And, instead of trying to pretend to be something you're not, just owning what you are, and letting, the team know that that's what you're like and where they have to help lift you up or help support you in different ways to make sure you're still getting out there and doing the things you need to do in a role like this.
I'm taking notes. The way you describe it is so relatable. But I love your point about embracing who you are naturally and learning to work with that. That's so important. And earlier this year, you competed in Dancing with the Easter Seals, a dance competition to raise money for kids with physical disabilities. So, what inspired you to be part of this competition, and how'd it go?
It's funny to talk about this right after talking about being an introvert.
I was going to say, this is very extroverted.
I have the CEO of our foundation, actually, Pam Ross, to thank for this one. She talked me into this about, I have certain, I would say, underlying values about, really supporting our other organizations in the communities. A lot of times with the smaller, the hospital is often the big player in the community and for fundraising and things like this, and our the smaller agencies in the community often have a harder struggle raising money. And she said, it's really important, Gail, that we participate and help bring some more spotlight to Easter seals. And this was 4 months away. So another problem with me saying, oh yeah, 4 months from now, I'll feel like doing this. So, so I did agree to it. And the thing about me is although I'm an introverted, I'm very competitive as well. So once I said I was going to do it, they had weekly dance lessons with us for a professional, because you do dance with a professional when you're there. And you go for an hour once a week and you got to practice at home. So I was practicing every night, doing my steps at home and everything else for this competition, because the thought of embarrassing myself publicly was enough to make sure I devoted sufficient time to it. Um, but it was actually a great event. They did a fantastic job. It was a sold out crowd. I think they sell out every year. I didn't even know about it before I participated in it. But they do an incredible job here. And I have to say, I'm not usually I don't like get anxious about things until the very last minute. So they do have you out in the hall before they call you out to do your dance. So when they're out in the hall and the announcer is calling you out before they open the doors, I thought at that moment I might have a heart attack before the doors open. And then you think, like, the only thing you can think about is, like, my mind is going blank and I don't know if I'm going to remember anything once I get out there. But the fact that if you put enough practice in beforehand, you do remember it when you're out there. And as the professional dancer said, like, nobody else knows if you goofed up one of your steps, so don't worry about it. But it was an incredible event. The judges were good. One of our surgeons here was one of the judges. So and the participation from the community was great. So it was a great event. When it was over, I felt a lot better when it was done, and it went really well. I think I was the top fundraiser for the event. So I'm really proud that under the RVH umbrella, we were able to bring some more light to Easter Seals and help them on their fundraising.
That's amazing being top fundraiser for that. And it's something challenging for you personally to kind of push your personal limitations, I guess. And it's for a good cause. And speaking of good cause, you're also on the community board for the TELUS Friendly Future Foundation. Why is this an important table for you to be at?
This is, I think, another one of the, referring to that same value about really looking out for the other, smaller organizations in the community. And TELUS has a really great program, their Friendly Futures Foundation, about, supporting smaller organizations, really about, the priority for youth. Um, and they do a great job, and it really takes, volunteers. There's so many staff volunteers that from TELUS that spend their time on this as well, to help promote it and put it forward. And they really do a great job for a lot of these little organizations that, wouldn't otherwise qualify for a lot of government funding or things like this because they're smaller, but they really make such a big difference in the community. And I think when you as you work in a hospital, you really recognize a lot of gaps in the community for service for special groups and marginalized communities, and a lot of these organizations that TELUS helps fund and lift up, really they wouldn't be able to manage without funders like that. So, and it makes a big difference, even from a hospital perspective, that these, other agencies receive funding to be able to provide some services to a lot of these specialized, marginalized populations, whether it be adults or children. That really helps all of society out. So I'm really proud to be on that board to, provide a lens to the table and to help. It's an education process as well, because some of these agencies and organizations, I wouldn't really even know about if I wasn't on the TELUS board, because they're so specialized, and you get those applications, and it's amazing. It's really, even to find out about, there's a lot of agencies that work with animals, with children and adults, and who have special needs. And when you see those ones, it's just like heart wrenching.
That's amazing that you're on that board. And switching gears just a bit, how do you incorporate wellness into your day to day life, and how does it help you?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think, the as I mentioned before, the jobs are stressful, so you got to find something to do on a regular basis that helps you, rejuvenates. And for me, the time I can really only protect is the mornings. You can't always protect what time of, the night you'll be done, and often you feel too exhausted to do everything. So I do protect time in the morning. I, do a variety of different kinds of workouts every day so that I, just somehow getting the stress out of my system. I do a lot of yoga as well. I teach yoga as a fun thing to do on the side. And those are all things that, are just like you're away from work and you're not thinking about work. And often some great ideas actually come to you about some of the problems that you're faced with when you're finally not thinking about them. So I try to do a lot of that. And I also try to make sure I have enough, quiet time, like away from lots of people to be able to also, get my energy levels back up and things like that, so that I'm, can bring my whole self to work.
Those are great strategies, finding time in the morning or whatever works for you personally, finding quiet time, etc. And on the topic, I'm curious if you would consider this part of your personal wellness, but in our research, we learned that you're into Jiu Jitsu. So, how did that start, and what's been the most challenging part about it?
Yeah, so that started probably 2019, just before COVID, when I lived in Midland and was CEO at Georgian Bay General Hospital. My son he was living elsewhere at the time for school, and he had started jiu-jitsu, and he knew that I wanted to do some sort of martial art at the time. Before, we had lived in Chapel and there wasn't really access to it. So he told me he started it and he really liked it, so suggested I did. So actually, there's a gym, a jiu-jitsu gym in Midland, Driven Jiu-Jitsu, that I ended up joining and started out, and it was extremely intimidating, I would say, I would say, because I've never done any physical contact sport in my life. So, jiu-jitsu is basically grappling and wrestling, So it's, full contact, and I'm not a very big person, so it's intimidating in that method as well. But the coach there, Al, did a really great job of making me feel welcome, and also he just gets you in there right away so you can get over your fears. So that's, I would say, the most challenging part of it is really, right now, it's being as consistent. When I lived in Midland, I lived 5 minutes from the gym, so it was easy to get to. It's a lot more challenging now when I'm in Barrie. But the most challenging part is really, you're never really good at jiu-jitsu. There's always people better than you, and which is also a good thing from a perspective of being humble, because you will never master it. You'll get better, but there's always others who are better. And, that part of it keeps you humble. And when you're in jiu-jitsu, everybody you're there with is really equal. So you're not the CEO of something. You're not, nobody's more important than anybody else. So that part is really humbling. But, and, sometimes showing up to work with weird bruises all over you is sometimes hard to explain as well, because it is an aggressive sport. So odd time you might get hit in the face, or have bruises on your arms and legs, and people will look at you strangely. But I think one of the biggest benefits from it is when you're doing it, you can't think about anything else, which is a really nice thing in a job like this, is that you want to stop thinking about the problems that or challenges that you're facing. So when you're doing a sport like jiu-jitsu, you have to think about your own safety at every minute. So you can't be thinking about anything else, and it clears your mind, and it's very refreshing from that perspective.
I love that you're always trying something new between the dance competition and this. That's awesome.
I took a lot from that. I was taking notes. I'm like, I need to figure out if I would like jujitsu and how that works. Also, the bruises. That's funny. That made me laugh a lot. I wanted to, before I jump in the lightning round, I'm going to be a little bit selfish for a minute. I have small children, so I wanted to. I know yours are adult children. I just wanted, as you were growing your career back in when your children were small, kind of how did you feel about that balance and that kind of trying to? Because I know you mentioned like getting that carving out that morning, which works well now that your children are older, but like back in when that was happening, when they were at home and tiny and loud, what
Yes.
kind of worked for you? And do you have any advice for young families?
Yeah, it's super hard. It's you definitely get, when you as they get older and you get more ownership of your time, it gets easier. When they were little, we used to try to just wake up earlier than them, and I think that you know sort of try to taper your expectations about what you're going to be able to do, because what I can do now and what I could do then were very differently. The amount of time you could squirrel away to focus on just yourself. If you have a supportive partner, it helps if they can, give you like 30 minutes or an hour to yourself so you can do something. But uh, that's definitely a recommendation. I think the part about, when I started the hospital, my working in hospitals, my kids were um, all probably under 5 at the time. The 3 kids at that time were under 5, and I think that it gave me recognition, knowing how hard I had to balance that, in a CEO role and having small children. It gave me a lot more empathy for and understanding for other team members that had small children and were worried about trying to take, leaves and being able to attend events for their children or things like that. And so it gave me a lot different perspective. I'm very supportive. I try to go out of my way to support young families, young parents, and if their job allows, like obviously at the front lines is a little bit harder, but flexing your time to be able to attend to things and those type of things, because you want your team members here for the long term. Like I'm hoping you're a 20-year employee with RBH. So if in the next 5 years you need to go in and out because you have daycare issues, or you need to work from home because your kids are sick that day and the daycare won't take them and they can't go to school, like we need to be as understanding and as flexible as we can during that period of time, because that's just a period, one part of the time that hopefully you'll be in this organization for. So, and hopefully if we can help support you with a little bit more flexibility during that time, then you'll be with us for the long term. So uh, you know I've always tried to do that because I know how it feels when, you're racked with guilt about, I didn't get to go to every other parent. In your mind, you think every other parent attended some event at school for their kids' class, and you're the only one who didn't go there. And that's not that bad, but a guilt can really make for an unhappy workforce as well when they feel like they have to choose between their children and their job. So let's try to be as supportive as we can about that.
That's great. That's all really good advice. Yeah. Getting up early is definitely something I'm trying to do now. So taking that part of it actively. I find when I get up earlier, I was saying to my team that my kids get up early, like they hear me or smell
Yeah,
me. I have no idea.
yeah. They have radar for that.
I know I need to get up at 4 in the morning. No, it's really good. And supporting our teams just, brings that much more empathy. Okay, well, I wanted to move to the lightning round. And these are questions that you have not seen before. We were chatting about it earlier. And so we'll just give you kind of the first thing that comes to mind. And that's it. So what's the first thing that you do on a Monday morning?
I probably complain about how tired I am, and then and then I go walk the dog and work out on a Monday morning.
Okay. What's the first thing you do on a Saturday morning?
I take it very leisurely. Up until recently, for 2 Saturdays of the month, I would teach yoga at a yoga studio in Midland. But I've retired from doing that on a regular basis, and so I try to take it easy on Saturday mornings and just leisurely spend some time in the morning watching some TV or reading or doing something very low key in the house by myself.
What's one book, if you had to read it for the rest of your life, that you would read?
I think I would read The Bridges of Madison County.
And you mentioned TV, so what's your favorite series right now that you're watching?
For a mind-numbing series I like to watch, so when I don't want to think about anything else, I watch Below Deck because it makes me feel better about my own leadership skills.
I haven't seen it, but I heard good
Yeah,
things.
you'll feel better about yourself as a leader if you watch that show because it's just such chaos on a reality show. I think something that I'm watching right now that I really enjoy is Slow Horses. Probably that's a really fun series that we're watching.
Ah, yes, and just came back out, well, at the time of this recording. And if you weren't in healthcare today, maybe you give us a couple hints, but what would you be doing?
I wonder if I would have gone into law if I didn't do healthcare.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Gail, for chatting with us and sharing your lessons with Abby and I and talking about RVH and the organization and what you're doing in the community. All of that, we love it. I love hearing what our subscribers are doing. So, and the leadership lessons that you can share with us. So I want to just thank you for being on our show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening. You can hear more episodes of Healthcare Changemakers on our website, heroc.com, and on your favorite podcasting apps. If you like what you hear, please rate us or post a review. Healthcare Changemakers is recorded by HEROC's communications and marketing team and produced by Podfly Productions. Follow us on Twitter at HEROC Group or email us at communications@heroc.com. We'd love to hear from you.